What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. I just TP kid the Doomsday Dawn squad. I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Oh well, let's talk about min-maxing for fun and profit so you, yes, you can build a big, spooky, scary strong animal companion to do the same to your players / so your druid can have the beariest bear to tear the meta a new one. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And today, this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by Anthony Campanaro. My friend, thanks so much for your help and support. Now, let's learn all about our fantastic beasts and where to find them in the core rulebook and how to build them and stuff. Okay, so I lost the request. I couldn't find it. I've been looking through my videos pretty much since Doomsday Dawn wrapped up, trying to find it. But the goal of this optimization video is to test the animal companion of the Pathfinder playtest against the animal companion of Pathfinder 1st Edition. Now, what I mean by that is this. In Pathfinder 1st Edition, basically, you had two choices. If you played a druid, hunter, cavalier, mad dog, barbarian, etc., something that had a pet. A, you could take a dinosaur, a war cat, a tiger, something with like an obscene armor class, pounce, sometimes both, really powerful special abilities and things, or you could take something like a wolf and it could die, and you would be wrong. Wrong may be a bit harsh of a term, but if you have an animal companion in an optimized party, your character, if not your entire party, is spending their wealth to see to it that that thing is geared out, right? You're essentially, without leadership, gearing for two. Of course, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, it was more than possible to do this really easily if you chose the right animal companion. I, for one, am very partial to the Warcat of Roll. It gets pounce, it gets way too much natural armor, and when we stacked our natural armor with our actual armor, with our dexterity, with our deflection, things like that, it wasn't hard sometimes for the Pathfinder 1st Edition animal companion to just be the hardest thing to hit in the party. I don't remember the exact numbers, but in Rise of the Rune Lords, I did in fact play an Orc Hunter for quite a while, and here's a pic for reference. Isn't he pretty? Yeah, you tell him to cross. Anywho, I'm about 90% sure, though I'd have to talk to the guys, look at some stuff, things of that nature, that my Warcat had the highest armor class in the party by a mile. I think the next hardest person to hit was harder to hit, we'll say. Not in terms of AC, but in terms of hiding in plain sight within my Warcat's own shadow. Nevertheless, the disparity was gigantic. Now, obviously, in the Pathfinder playtest, that's going to be flipped around a little bit. There's no deflection bonus. There's no natural armor bonus. It's a proficiency-based thing. What a proficiency-based system aims to do is balance the scales in such a way that no longer can I, an optimizer, show up with Scaled Fist 1, Paladin 2, whatever class X, prioritize my dexterity and charisma, have higher saves than you, have higher armor class than you, and just like blow the rest of the party out of the water in terms of stats in such a way that either the GM would buff everything into the ceiling to compensate for me, thus killing the party really easily, or I would just be a plague on the meta. Now, with no more natural armor, no more deflection bonus, just a bonus based on your level, in theory, the field should be pretty leveled, right? That's what this video aims to test. Now, we're not going to talk a lot about the character. Really, we're just going to talk about his pet. There certainly are a couple things we have to touch on. For this video, I definitely for a while thought about using the work together of the animal companion we're about to pick in conjunction with a rogue to have a bunch of sneak attack while flanking and throw a bunch of dice at the table. Now, I still think that's relevant, but this video, again, is more about whether or not the pet can stand on the pet's own. With that in mind, our class of choice today is a druid. Our druid is going to be from the animal order. I know, right? Shocker. We're doing this because the first level class feat for a druid, Animal Companion, gained for free by being an animal order druid, says that if you're a druid of the animal order, oh yeah we are, Our animal companion increases its con, whiz, and cha mod by 1. We don't really care about its charisma, but its wisdom makes its will save better. Its con makes it obviously harder to kill. Secondly, we're going to be taking Specialized Companion, a feat with a feat level of 14, not available to someone who archetypes into Druid, someone who must be an actual Druid, because a Druid of the Animal Order who takes Specialized Companion can select Specialized Companion more than once each time, grabbing a different specialization, all about buffing that pet. But which pet, you might ask? We are, in fact, choosing the bear for our animal companion. For a while, I thought about taking the cat, and really, classically speaking, that's usually the choice, right? In Pathfinder 1st Edition, take a big cat or you're wrong. This time, we're choosing the bear because we're only going to miss out on 1 buff to dexterity. In return, we're getting that buff in our con and our hit points from 4R8. I'm going to value that a little more powerful for the animal companion that oftentimes may very well be standing alone. This character concept is all about the Druid sends his bear into combat, burning that 1 action and letting the bear run in and do stuff while staying in the back, using its remaining 2 actions to cast spells and things. Now, animal companions, of course, work a lot differently than they used to. All the animal companions begin play with the same basic ability modifiers: strength +2, dex +1, con +0, int -4, whiz +1, cha -1. With the bear's buff to strength and con, we're actually beginning play with 16 strength. Buffing our con is super relevant because we only get 6 hit points. Plus, of course, con mod as we level, though we'll begin with a flat 8, like racial hit dice on anything else. The idea is we're going to run through our feats as fast as we can to get up to full-grown companion, doing so with the full-grown companion feat at 4th. And hey, in an encounter, if we don't burn that action to command an animal, we'll still get 1 stride or strike with our pet, so that's relevant. Then it's Incredible Companion. And then again, that 14th level class feat, grabbing it 3 times to grab our 3 specializations. Let's look at that in depth, shall we? When our animal companion becomes full grown, its strength, dex, con, and whiz all go up by 1. Its unarmed strike damage goes from 1 dice to 2. Its proficiency for perception and all saves go to expert, and it grows in 1 size category if it's medium. And you see where we're going here. Essentially, it's template stacking to get the animal companion you want. After our companion becomes full grown, we'll be becoming a nimble companion. Once we become a nimble companion, as of the updates, we do become a creature with magical attacks, but not super worried about that. What we're here for is the buff to our dexterity modifier of +2. Our strength, con, and whiz also go up by 1. Our unarmed strike goes from 2 to 3. Our proficiency in acrobatics goes to expert. But more importantly, our proficiency rank in unarmored defense also makes its way up to expert. Yes, barding exists, but there's no way to get our barding proficiency up super high. We're not the paladin. So the idea here is we're going to take our unarmored defense, throw it as high as we can with as many hit points and con and things as we can, then use magic items to get the rest of the way. Yeah, anywho, after Nimble, we get 3 specializations. We'll be choosing Ambusher, Racer, and Daredevil. The Ambusher animal companion can use its sneak action even if it's being watched in its natural environment. It gets a +1 circumstance bonus to initiative. Its proficiency rank in stealth goes to expert or master. More importantly, its dex mod gets another bump, and the proficiency rank for unarmored defense makes its way up to master because it is in fact nimble. The Racer specialization gives us a buff to our speed by 10 feet as long as we aren't in heavy barding. Oh hey, we aren't. More importantly, our proficiency in our fortitude save goes to master, and our con mod goes up by 1, which means we get more hit points retroactively, and it gets harder to poison us, it gets harder to necromancy us to death, because that's the point. Again, we want the bear to be able to run up and just take everything and keep moving. Finally, Daredevil says that your animal companion does not become flat-footed when flanked, or when a creature is unseen or sensed, unless it's a higher level than you. And the acrobatics goes up to master, but again, our dex mod goes up by 1. So after all of these things get slapped on, we're looking at a strength score of 20, a dexterity of 24 after everything added on, plus the anklets of alacrity. Why not invest him on our animal companion? He'll be the one up front, right? A con of 20, an intelligence of, well, 2. 18 in our wisdom, and a charisma of 10. Now, those numbers are all pretty big. They're definitely bigger, by and large, than what we're going to see on the average PC. And, of course, there are a couple of magic items we've got to slap on as well, other than the anklets, like we've discussed. First up, it's the Bracers of Armor. The big one at the end of the game gives us a +6 on our armor class and a +5 to our saves, as per, the enchantment on our armor and the Cloak of Resistance that we would normally buy for our animal companion. Secondly, we're looking at the Hand Wraps of Mighty Fists. Get these all the way up at level 20 again, and our bear is throwing around as many dice when he's fighting as everybody with their big magic greatswords and things. But does that mean our bear animal companion, or animal companions in general, can stand toe-to-toe with the monsters of the playtest and do just as well as the paladins and fighters and things? Now that we've got all of our math laid out for us, we can in fact check that out. So we're a master in unarmed defense, which means we're adding +2 off our proficiency. Essentially, we're operating with a base armor class of 22. We'll add 7 to that from our dexterity, unfettered by our armor and stuff, and 6 more on top of that from our bracers of armor, means that at the end of the day, we're looking at an armor class of 35 on our animal companion. Again, benchmarking against the strongest thing in the Pathfinder playtest, that's the Jabberwock. The Jabberwock cannot miss with a +40 on its first attack unless it fumbles. All of its attacks are agile as well. So even that second attack literally has to roll a 1 to fumble, and the third one at a +32 needs only to get a 3 or more, and it's gonna hit. Normally, so far, what I've seen in the playtest, I'd be okay with that, right? Because as a reaction, I'd use Enduring Might, or I'd have my raised shield and I'd block, and I would mitigate some of that damage. With 20 con and 6 hit points at level, we're basically looking at 220 hit points at max level, plus that 8 more from the racial at the end. 228 seems good, and again, our stats are looking a lot better than the player characters usually will be, but I'm still worried that we might not necessarily shine as much as the paladin or the barbarian or someone who has that d10 hit dice. On top of that, of course, our animal companion does have the minion trait, which means our druid spent 1 action to command him, and he only gets 2 actions in a round. That means we're only striking twice. Will we throw a bunch of d8s at the table? Yes. Yes, we will. We'll throw 6 at the table, and we'll add our strength of 5, and we'll add a bunch more, and it's going to do a lot of damage. And this is worth pointing out at this point that by and large, it seems like at least the bears work together. That lets you add some extra damage on your attack, as if the bear was striking when you were. Seems eventually to be like a trap, unless you were adding the bear strike on top. But we had to jump through quite a bit of hoops to get where we are. Even with the druid using some of its actions to cast haste, yeah, that's on the primal list. That's a thing we can do. I worry we still may fall a little short here. We're essentially adding 30 when we attack in a proficiency-based system trained with those unarmed strikes. Plus 20 strength, plus the hand wraps. A 30 to hit seems not bad, but a 30 to hit hits the Jabberwock on a natural 19 to get to that 49. And so we do have to wonder, in fact, if the animal companion isn't a little too weak right now. Of course, work together exists. We could use the bear's work together to add that damage onto our strike, but then our bear isn't doing as much. Sure, it got the damage through, but the caster druid with somebody in front of him kind of just falls short, because he's not going to run up and bash him with the quarterstaff unless he's going to catch Shillelagh and bop a zombie. Even then, most of the time, especially in high-level play, as a caster, he probably had something else to do. To fix this, one might think maybe letting the unarmed proficiency go up on our animal companions as it levels, and maybe reinstating something along the lines of natural armor, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially if it's only on an animal companion. If it only gets just a little buff, just like 5 more, like a +1 for every 4 levels or something, to make sure it doesn't just get killed a whole bunch. Again, this build's assuming we're getting a hold of real powerful magic items. Does that tip the balance? No. No, it doesn't. But I do think right now what we're seeing is the animal companion, in the name of balance, has been taken a little too far down. And in early level play against goblins and things, it may very well shine. Of course, the druid might be in the back. Just command your animal after it's hasted. It strikes thrice. Then you pop a 2-action heal to keep it moving. And that's what you do. That's who your character is. But that just doesn't seem to be as good as it could be. And it feels like the animal companion, again, in the name of balance, has been brought a little too far below the line. But what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Is the animal companion good? What have your experiences been with animal companions, and what do you think should be changed about them, if anything, in this playtest to make them be as amazing as they could be? Throw in the comments, let me know all about it. Be sure to like and subscribe, as always, for more videos. The next episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit is going to drift back to the realm of the social. We're building the Diplomancer. Yeah, the true magical arts. We'll see you next week.